Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streaming directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. We are back. We are live on the air after taking a week off for me to settle down for my trip back from Los Angeles. Suncast was very upset. He had no idea what to do. He was staring at a wall all week. He was devastated that I wasn't around.
You left me in the basement.
I left food and some kitty litter. For people who don't know,
that's not good enough.
For people who don't know, Suncast is locked in my basement at all times, and that's how he gets work done. We only feed him bread, and sometimes
I ran out of kitty litter, and I had to pee on the carpet.
He peed on the carpet. We have to replace the entire carpet. Pee went down to the floorboard, everything. It was awful. This week with us, of course, Josh Coleman, also known infamously on the internet as Comb. Some refer to him as Combs. How you doing, Josh?
Hello, Andrew and Suncast. It's incredible to be here. I believe this is my second time ever on this show.
Second time. It is your second time here on the show. People could reach you.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Michael's done the show a bunch of times, but Comb is not.
I've done Big Brother with you more times than this show.
You have, because
it's the time. The regular show time is when I usually go get my son. That is the reasoning.
That's his excuse.
What?
I guess your kid is more important than the show.
Looks like the time changed this week, didn't it?
It did. It did. For more information on Comb, of course, you can go to his amazing website. He's a web designer. He makes websites and digital media. He creates your media kit and creates your digital presence at jmaverickdesigns.com. Also, you can catch him every week on the new time, Wednesdays at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and wow, look at that. You've already integrated into the copy my new outlook on my business.
Outlook. I know,
unbelievable. You listen to me.
I do listen.
Wow, thank you.
You can catch him Wednesdays at 8 at gfqnetwork.com, where he does a show with Michael Manna called The T4 Show. Phenomenal show.
8 o'clock, and also sometimes on Free For All. I close out the show.
You do. You close out the show.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. You're the closer.
Yeah, I'm a closer.
Suncast is the opener. You're the closer. It's a whole operation. And you guys have secret discussions about baseball, which upsets me tremendously.
He's a fan. He's a secret fan of the Detroit Tigers.
We have a lot of secret discussions without you.
I bet you do.
Don't
I
talk
bet you
about
do. Bet you do. So why don't we get into some news, John? Why don't you do the honors and you pick the first story? I know I'm throwing a curveball at you. See, another baseball reference. I want you to pick the first story of the day.
Well, let's see. I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts on this whole ad that JCPenney is running, because this is very fascinating. The fact that a while back, I think it was 2011, they hired former Apple retail chief Ron Johnson to head up the CEO position at JCPenney. But back in April, they decided that they were going to fire him. And so now JCPenney is airing an ad that's literally begging for customers to come back, saying that they're sorry for all these changes and a whole bunch of other things. And I think this is very interesting that they would choose to air an ad like this. In a way, I kind of understand, because JCPenney says that under his reign, sales fell 25%, and the company posted a net loss of $985 million, which is the reason why they had to let him go. But it's still weird that they would choose to air an ad literally begging for customers to come back.
Well, you know what's fascinating about this? Under his rule, JCPenney took a very aggressive campaign on the internet, which JCPenney is not really known for that, but they had a huge digital presence under his reign, and I thought they had kind of changed the brand around it. They had turned the brand around to make it into a cool, I guess,
modern.
Like they made it into this cool modern feel. I don't know. I guess it didn't work for them, and this just shows you that you may be successful in one position, and it doesn't really transition into another one.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, they saw the success he had at Apple, obviously, and were like, oh my God, we need to bring that. This guy he has the heartbeat. Like, what do they say? He has his hand on the heartbeat, and he knew what was going on. They brought him in, and apparently it didn't translate to retail, or I guess, what is JCPenney's? Like a high-end Kmart? Is that what it is?
It's very interesting because they've really changed their brand over the last year, I think. I don't know if they've changed as much where you guys live, but here they've completely redone their entire stores and they redid their logo. I don't like their logo, but their stores have been completely changed. It's no longer the JCPenney that you used to see, you know, a couple years ago.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter now because they're still losing money, so the rebranding didn't even help.
Yeah.
And are we having a drinking game that I wasn't aware of? Because you used my word digital presence again. Did you notice that, Andrew?
It is a drinking game. It is a drinking game. Yeah, I like that term, by the way.
Oh, I think I coined it last night.
Yeah, actually. I'm a big fan of this. I want to talk about this the whole debacle with Thorsten Hines. I said it right this time. Thorsten.
Thorsten.
Thorsten
turned how? Is this the Gilligan's Island story?
No, not the Gilligan's Island story. We're about 40
are we
years
back to that now?
We're about 40 years into the future with that. Okay. So the RIM CEO, he turned around and said, and there were some quotes out there that were kind of misquoted by him, but he kind of, and he's quoted saying, in 5 years, I don't think there's going to be a reason to have a tablet anymore. And he doesn't really see there to be a space for the tablet. Maybe a big screen in your workspace, but not a tablet as such. Now, it's
a little convoluted itself.
It is a little convoluted, but if you look at it, yeah, you know what? The tablet as we know it today will not exist in 5 years. A tablet will be something totally different in 5 years. So he kind of has a point, but is this sour grapes because the playbook failed?
To a degree, yeah.
I think he's just trying to strike up news so people are talking about it. And I mean, what do you all think? In 5 years, I think it's just going to be like a TV in your living room that's going to be connecting to everything. Like it'll be like a giant tablet, but on your wall.
Think about mobile computing and how far it's come in just 5 years, from 2007 to 2012 or 2013, if you will. Look at where the iPhone started. If you look at the first generation iPhone to the fifth generation iPhone, the iPhone 5, if you look at the progression from that, I think it's completely different, to be honest. I mean, it's a whole different world.
True.
You know, here's my question to you guys. In 5 years, what do you think? How do you think the tablet is going to be? Because on my trip last week, I at one point was thinking, well, you know what? It might not be a bad idea just to bring a tablet with me, and I don't need to run a computer. What do I need a computer for? And I quickly realized that was not the case. I would not have been able to do majority of my work stuff with just the tablet alone. I used the tablet for media consumption and for some gaming when I was on the plane, but I cannot use a tablet as my everyday system. Do you see that possibly changing in 5 years where the tablet is, you know, your computer?
Absolutely. I definitely see something like that happening, because if you think about it, we're still in like the first generation phase of tablets. It's still a very new market. If you think about like the first smartphones, like the first generation of BlackBerry, and you look at where BlackBerry is today and smartphones in general, just like if you look at Windows Mobile compared to Windows Phone 8 in that sort of progression and how different those devices are today, I think that's kind of the evolution that we could see with tablets, in the sense where we're just now seeing the beginnings of tablets, but they haven't reached their full potential yet. We haven't worked out all the issues that go along with using a tablet. There's still very limited devices and that's exactly how smartphones back in 2003 and 2004 were when they first started coming out. I mean, if you think about it that way.
It's interesting, but weren't the smartphones targeted towards corporate use when they first came out? It's really what it was, right? It was enterprise.
Yeah, because they were still very good at communication, texting, email, being able to type. It was still so much better than typing on just a feature phone that only has a T9 keypad on it. Having to peck out all your words one letter at a time off of 9 keys.
Josh,
if you think about it that way.
Give me your outlook in 5 years on the tablet. What is the tablet going to be like in 5 years?
Let me channel. Okay, in 5 years, I believe that the phone, your smartphone, is going to be, I mean, pretty much, it's going to fill that void, hopefully, of where you won't need the tablet, that everything is here. You can basically take this and put into different docks or charging stations and be able to then have a full computing experience. Like, you won't need to bring a laptop per se, because everyone's house, or hopefully, will have like a laptop/dock station, but you'll just have your phone to take and pop in.
I don't see Apple doing that. See, that's the only thing. I see everybody else doing that, but Apple.
Well, I'm not. Who says I'm on the Apple train anymore?
I don't know. I thought you're on the Apple train. Maybe you're switching teams in 5 years.
Well, maybe there was a different team. Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm staying on my team right now.
But it is an interesting quote by him. I know a lot of people slammed him for saying, how could you say the tablet's not going to be relevant in 5 years and people are going to want a tablet. But, I mean, if you're looking at the tablet as of now, I mean, I wouldn't want a tablet from 5 years ago. Think about what they were.
Sure. Well, actually, I don't. Andrew, the first iPad, which I still use today, it's over there on my coffee table. The battery in that is ridiculous. That is still an incredible tablet.
That was 3 years ago. Let's go back 5 years. It was just those convertible Lenovo's. You know, it was a convertible laptop that they called a tablet, and I had no interest in that. So maybe, you know, in 5 years, I think things are going to change. But fascinating coming from him. But by the way, during this interview, he also stated that the Q10 BlackBerry, which got released in the UK, had phenomenal sales.
Really?
The thing is selling like hotcakes.
Do you think it's the camera?
Very interesting, the market that they have overseas compared to here.
Yeah, a very strong market overseas, and they are saying, people are praising this phone, and they're saying this is amazing. This is the BlackBerry that everybody wanted. I'm curious how the US is going to perceive the phone, but interesting that the UK absolutely loves this phone.
They've always had a appreciation for BlackBerry over there.
Let me ask you, because you came from that, could you go back to the keyboard?
You know, not really, in a sense that I feel that screen real estate is more important than having a physical keypad on the device. I'd rather be able to see more of my screen than have a physical keyboard take up that space. I could never do that. No.
According to Reuters, the BlackBerry is sold out or seeing limited availability across Canada and the UK.
Wow.
You
I'm
didn't
shocked
see that?
by that.
You know what? I have to say this. This is not another Palm situation.
No.
They actually are getting praised. Like, I use this phone, and I said, wow, this is a phenomenal phone. I absolutely loved it. The Z10, not the Q10. I'll probably have the Q10.
I almost, in a way, feel like that they kind of got lucky.
You think so?
Really? Why do you say
that?
You know what, Sunkist? I don't disagree with you on that. I think a lot of people have Android and iOS fatigue at this point.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and that really is it, is the fact that people were looking for something else. And Windows Phone 8 doesn't necessarily fill that void either, which is really interesting. Because we have Windows Phone 8, Android, iPhone, and now BlackBerry, with all modern operating systems on them and modern hardware. So if you think about it, I think Android and iPhone are still obviously the top two out there, but now it's a fight between Windows Phone 8 and BlackBerry, and neither of them are going to win out over each other, I don't think.
Yeah, I think the third marketplace is going to be pretty. They're going to go head to head, but I don't know if one's going to take a huge leap over the other one.
I was so into Windows Phone where I thought that 920 was going to be my phone. I thought I could totally get into that whole Windows ecosystem.
So what happened?
2 days happened, and there's nothing on that phone. It doesn't integrate really that well. You really like the original, like that first glance of Windows Phone 8. You think it's really slick and it's smooth, but then you start realizing that every single app just looks the same. There's no individuality on it. At least with Apple, like each app sort of like has that same Apple look, but it's different in each way. But
I'll tell you, I like Windows Phone. I personally like the 920. I like using it. App limitations, okay, but I kind of like the conformed look across all platforms. I think it makes it into a unified operating system, so you know that the application is going to look the same, and you're kind of going to understand the application across all platforms. with
That is the other side of it.
I mean, I kind of like that, and some people like it, some people don't. That's fine. But I think with BlackBerry, it's interesting that they came from the dead, and here's the thing, and the same thing for Windows Phone. They both came out at a time where this phrase "iPhone killer" was not being used. Do you remember when everything that was coming out was deemed, is this the iPhone killer? And no, it wasn't. And it was utter disappointment. One of Palm's major points of failure was the fact that every reviewer picked this up and goes, is this an iPhone killer? Absolutely not. Ugh. So it failed. Obviously, it's going to fail when everybody's telling you that it sucks and it's not as good as the iPhone. Now that's a little debatable. The marketplace has matured to the point that you could have multiple phones that are as good or close to the iPhone. The iPhone may not be for everybody anymore, and I think the consumer kind of understands that now. Before, there was nothing. And I think if BlackBerry had, if this phone had come out 3 years ago, it would have been said, wow, this is the utter disappointment. This is not as good as the iPhone. Don't buy this phone. And it might have been a nail in the coffin. You know what? That 10-year plan that we mocked all these years on the show might have been it was a blessing in disguise in a way for them, because they missed that being compared to the iPhone thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a good point.
It might have been the best thing that could have possibly happened.
And that's something that I've said, for the past year and a half, that in a way their timing is going to be pretty much dead on for something new to come along.
Right.
Because we're at the point
now. What is that now? Because with everything moving so fast, like with these phones, it's almost like 3 years is feels like a century ago. It feels like forever. It's hard to imagine that the first iPad was just only 3 years ago. It just feels like it was 5-10 years ago.
I mean, Apple is still a very big player out there, but if you look at how the tides have really changed in the last 12 months towards Apple, it's no longer the media and users fawning over them. They're kind of being swayed now to everything else out there, Android and Windows Phone.
And I'll tell you why. And this goes right into the next story. The iOS experience, rather than, and I'm not saying this to be critical of it. So Apple guys, I'm an Apple fan. I have an iPad. I use a MacBook Pro. I'm a realist, though. I feel that the iOS experience has become dull to many people. True. The operating system has not really changed over the last couple of years. It's been minor tweaks, minor add-ons, and I think people at this point want something new and fresh, and that's where BlackBerry comes into play. That's where Android comes into play. That's where Windows Phone comes into play. They really have to hit it out of the park with iOS 7.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened to BlackBerry, though. If you think about it, they came along, and once they had, BlackBerry OS 4 to 5, maybe 6, but 6 and 7, circa 2009 and 10, were exactly the same. And in 2011, it was pretty much the same. They didn't have a new operating system for over a year, and that kind of really led to them falling so far behind. Is that they didn't really update anything?
Well, because they were the same way. I mean, the same thing.
And it happened over a course of 5 years, where in 2007 with the BlackBerry Curve and the BlackBerry Bold, they were the king. They were on top. They were up there with the iPhone when it launched, and the second generation iPhone. And then they just, after that, after 2009, they really started to take a hit from the iPhone. And now I think Apple and the iPhone is in a very similar position where, they still have a lot of people fawning over them, but at the same time, they also have a lot of people that are really looking for a change.
I think iOS 7 is going to be fascinating to see, and I'm interested to see it. So we'll go into the story. It came out last week. Obviously, we weren't doing a show. Johnny Ive has been given the duty of kind of livening this up. Old news, yes. But we are now starting to get information on what his vision is. And his vision is a flatter iOS. Less 3D, less image renderings, more of a flatter look. And the skeuomorphic design is out the window. So when you have a journal, it's not going to look like a book because that's stupid. It's actually going to be flatter and it's going to have its own design. I think this is great. I think they need to freshen it up. My opinion, I think they added too much to iOS and they made it a little convoluted with the calendar and with the phone book. It's it lost something, and a lot of people complained about that. But Johnny Ive, we all know he really knows how to create hardware. Will this transition into software? What do you think, Josh? You're an Apple guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is incredible because my design style is very highly influenced from Johnny Ive throughout my growing up and learning about design and stuff. I mean, he was the top, so I've studied him and love his style. So that is why I can't wait, as you were saying about iOS 7. I can't wait to see just how it looks and how it functions. Like, that is going to be the big decider if I ever go back to Apple, is just the look of it.
Yeah.
How about you, John?
It's interesting because this like I said, both these stories kind of tie in together in the fact where, over the course of 5 years, history and styles and fashion change. If you talk about 2007 to 2012, I mean, that's a big change. Or to put it another way, think about, 1995 and 2000. The changes that we saw in style and fashion between those 5 years were quite a bit. I mean, you think about it, you got the new millennium there. Something from 1995 to 2000 is going to be completely different. In a way, you kind of have to stay up with, the style and the way things look. Mm-hmm. It's like having something from 1990 and trying to carry it over to 2005. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, and let me give you an example. On their podcast app, on their iTunes app, all these Apple apps to me have become dreadful to use.
Nightmare.
It really is, and I have an iPad 2, and yeah, it's not the current gen, but I have a very difficult time using the iTunes Store now because it takes forever to load, and the overall design is utterly awful. I think they screwed up. They ruined the entire store. They really ruined it.
And you know what's smart about what Google does? If you look at the newly designed Google Play Store, they pretty much took the old design and made it flat, and it is gorgeous on the phone. I think the Google Play Store is what I missed about the iOS store. Now it's like I have to know about an app to go get one because there's no way I'm going to use that app store. I'll go to top store, like top categories. How long does it take for you guys to load in all the icons? It's ridiculous.
Oh my God!
It's just a presentation of it as well.
Let me ask you:
you have style and you have presentation.
Let me ask you this, John. How you recently used your mother got a new iPad. How long does it take to load up the App Store? Because on iOS, on my iPad 2, it takes a good 15 seconds for everything to load. And
it can take a while, yeah.
Yeah, it baffles me that it takes so long. It didn't do that before.
It's not only that. It's my big beef with the App Store itself is the presentation of it.
Yeah.
Whatever they did with iOS 6, they changed it so much where the old way they had it, and this is funny because we're saying that they need to change, but in a way, what they had was better than what they have now. The way they had it before, where it was like a list or whatever it was, instead of just one app at a time, I cannot stand that. I need to be able to see a list view of applications. I don't want to see just a card or a couple cards of apps.
What do you think they have to do with the next iPhone and iOS? WWDC is coming up in a couple months now, and we're seeing rumors of OS 10.9. We're seeing rumors of iOS 7. We're seeing rumors of
everything.
The other rumor that they're saying that they're going to do with iOS is to have some more gesturing with it, like you have with the touchpad now for Mac. And in a way, I think that's a smart way to do things. If you think about it, that's what BlackBerry did.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And I think that's something that they had to, in a way, that will propel them forward, I think, being able to make changes like that.
And the overall design will move. And Johnny Ive is also designing the next OS, OS 10 experience. And I think that's a great idea. The perfect example.
I think
is the little the dock, the little bar on the bottom.
The commonality between all this and what we're talking about, I think, is that they're overthinking things.
I think that happened for a lot of companies, and now everybody's stepping back and saying, okay, you know what? Simple is better. Everything has this flatter, two-dimensional look. That's the style now, and let's all move over to that look. You don't need...
Yeah, and that's not just... A lot of people are comparing this flatter style, so they're going to be more Windows Phone Metro style. Is that what they're doing? But I think it goes beyond that. I think that's just the style of the times.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I don't think it's going to look like Windows Phone.
I mean, you see that with a lot of websites now. It's not just Windows Phone 8, Metro, or any of that stuff. It translates over to a lot of designs on the websites, and overall, people are just using flatter designs. Period.
Yeah, that's a look.
That the whole Web 2.0 thing, that whole Web 2.0 design is no longer in style.
What do you think of that, Josh? You do websites.
I mean,
you hate that term.
What?
Web 2.0.
I mean, now it's sort of played out. It's been thrown around too much. It's not that. It's more like, I mean, should I say it again? It's your digital presence is more than just a website now. Like, you can't just have a website, because what are you going to do on a website? The website is almost like the business card, and then, but that's a whole nother story. I agree everything with what John just said. I mean, he's dead on. I mean, what more can I say about it?
Well, when I say Web 2.0, I'm talking about those very glossy Web 2.0 buttons that everybody's used to seeing.
So it's almost like we've now surpassed that in a way, I think.
Yes.
It got too much. It's almost like every site you go to is like...
We've grown up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That is a great way to put it, John.
Hey, I want to go into this next story, and I guess before we do, we should talk about Netflix a little bit. I'm a big fan of Netflix. John is a huge fan of Netflix, and I know Coleman is a humongous fan of Netflix.
Huge. Are you kidding me?
And
I had to calm down.
I'm sorry. Calm down.
You said Netflix, and I was just like, oh my God, Netflix.com/GFQ. Netflix.com/GFQ.
It's embedded.
Embedded.
And this is what I want to say about Netflix. And we generally, 99.9% of the time, only talk about products that we use here on the network. We have a whole bunch of advertisers, but I use them all. And if it wasn't a product that I really used, I wouldn't talk about it. But I don't even have to sell Netflix to you, because everybody knows what Netflix is. Everybody knows the benefits of having Netflix. I haven't watched a regular television show on TV in maybe 2 years. Why am I paying for cable? I have no idea. But I'm still paying for cable. I'm paying about $300 a month to have cable in every one of my rooms, to have an HD set-top box in every one of my rooms. But in reality, all I access is Netflix. I've been watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia every night for the last year on Netflix, and that's all I watch. I mean,
yeah,
it's really...
I've seen a bunch of screenshots of that.
You've seen a bunch of screenshots of me taking and posting it, but
yes.
Everything that was on TV is on there. And now they have original television shows. And let me just tell you, Arrested Development is coming back this month. Very excited for that.
It's huge.
And I discovered that show on Netflix. I never watched it on television. It was on Netflix, and shortly after they announced it's returning to Netflix as an original series, and I watched the entire catalog of Arrested Development in literally 2 days. I didn't even sleep. I didn't shower. I just watched the show. You can
the best part about it now is that if you go, it's May, you can get the 30 days free, and you're going to see the new season.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what I want to go into. So if you don't have Netflix,
spoiler,
and I don't know who doesn't have Netflix right now, but if you don't have Netflix, sign up for Netflix, 30-day free trial. You know what? A little secret between me and you. You're not a big fan of Netflix? Just watch the original series. Just watch some of their stuff. You're going to love it. And you won't even think twice about canceling it after the 30 days. You get the 30-day trial by going to netflix.com/GFQ. I encourage everybody right now. Just go there right now. Netflix.com/GFQ.
And now they also have their family plan for, I think, $12.95, where you can actually have, multiple people using the same account, and you can stream 4 shows at once. So, like, everybody in a family can be watching their own show off of Netflix.
Yeah, that's actually really, really interesting, because my brother has a Roku. I have a Google TV. I got another Google TV in my living room. My Xbox has Netflix, and my PlayStation has Netflix. So I could technically set up Netflix in every room, have the family plan for $12.99 a month. Everybody now has Netflix. No, you don't need TV anymore. You don't just need one account. You just get the family plan. So it's actually phenomenal. Great stuff. I absolutely love Netflix, and I want to thank them for supporting Tech News Weekly. Again, go to netflix.com/GFQ, and you get a 30-day free trial over there.
Right.
No strings attached. Nothing. It's great stuff. I want to thank Netflix again for supporting the show. And back to regular programs. So since we did the Netflix spot, I do want to go into this story about Amazon reportedly introducing a set-top box this fall This is coming on the heels of the Intel set-top box that we're hearing about. We're hearing that Microsoft will be having a lot of TV integration, possibly doing like a piggyback system where it kind of piggybacks off the cable, much like Google TV, which I've been saying, if you want your device to sell and you want your device to be number one in the market, that is what you have to do. You have to have it piggyback and work and be integrated with your cable provider or your television rather than going from input 1 to input 2. But Amazon now wants to get into this, John. What do you think of this? I guess it'll be something like a Kindle TV.
This is very interesting because I think in a way we're in this age where it's almost a race to see who can have the best set-top box out there. It's almost like the early stages of, all right, let's find out what works and figure out if we can become the king of this and hold on to it for 20 years to come. And this is going to be very, I think it's great that they're doing this. I really do, because I think this is going to be yet another choice for people to choose from, because I don't think there is a set-top box out there like a Roku or Apple TV that fulfills everybody's needs just yet, because they're all of them, missing. They all have something missing, or they don't do something, or they don't have something. For example, I could get a Roku, but you know what? I have an iPhone. And I can't do AirPlay mirroring to a Roku.
No, you
so
can.
I'd have to get
an
Apple
Wait
TV.
A minute. You can. There's an app for that.
Oh, there is?
Yes.
I mean, that's one of my things is that, it's this whole mix of technology, and none of this stuff necessarily works together quite right. You know what I'm saying?
They're all missing something. They're all missing something. And the biggest disappointment for me was
they have
Google
some
TV.
channels or they just don't have it polished yet. And so we're just trying to figure out, everybody's trying to figure out what needs to be done and how to do it.
Josh, you don't have
king of set-top boxes.
Josh, you don't have a Roku, right?
No, I have 4 Apple TVs.
4 of them.
4.
Can I have one?
No, because they're all. This is how I use them. There's one in my office, one in the big TV room, one in the bedroom, and then one is like my mobile one where I take it when I need to go places and I want to have a bigger screen.
You take it with you.
Yeah, it's in my regular.
By the way,
travel
Eric
bags.
Timmer in the chat room just brought up a good point. The Roku 3 does not have a YouTube app.
Oh, that's right.
Let me give you guys a little tip about the Roku.
Oh.
There are private channels available. And you could find, if you search online for Roku private channels or Roku YouTube private channel, you could find private channels and install them on your Roku. And they're updated just like the only thing is it's not readily available in the Roku store. Right now, the GFQ app is in a private channel that we're working on. We're not giving it out yet, but there's a slew of apps. Let me see what's available.
Should I go buy a Roku today?
Roku private.
I think we should all get
channels.
Rokus.
Yeah, let's get them.
How
How much are they? Are they cheaper than the Apple
$100.
TV?
It's about
No, same
$100.
price as the Apple TV. Which it brings up another good point where, if Kindle or Amazon does come out with like a Kindle TV set-top box, I think they have to price it at the same price as the Roku and Apple TV or less.
So
I think at most, I think they could get away with charging maybe $129 at most.
So here is a list, and I'm putting it in the chat room for our people that have Roku, of private channels. And there's even adult channels on here.
Oh, wow.
There's streams of TV stations. BBC News has a private channel. So there's a lot of applications that people develop. They put on CNN is there, CNN International. I'm trying to see what else.
Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera, Fox News, Greek TV.
7 pages worth, pretty much.
Yeah, so there's a lot of private channels. Google Voice, there's a Google Voice channel. Home Shopping Network. So people, an IRC channel. That's actually interesting.
I might have to go buy one.
There's also
today.
premium channels that they don't put in the store, and you could buy it. So there's a lot that you could do with the Roku.
Oh, kosher metal.
Oh, it's perfect for you.
For me.
Yeah.
But I think it's fun. This whole thing with this set-top box and smart TVs, I think this is the year where we're going to see a lot of that into next year. And I think Samsung, I mean, yes, I do have a Note 2, so I'm a little biased, but I think Samsung has the advantage there because they can just build all this stuff into the TVs that they're making. And that's why
They
I
could,
think
but it
Apple
all
wants to
still
get
sucks.
into
And that was remember, that was the hope for Google TV, that Samsung, and it is available on some Samsungs. I know that they're using it, but I find it fascinating that Google has killed development, and we might get it at Google I/O this year. We might get some information.
There was a story about I think Asus is making a set-top box for Google TV.
They are, yeah,
and it's going to have some AirPlay mirroring with it.
Well, I have AirPlay mirroring on mine because I use something called Airtight, and it's an application.
It should be a standard.
It's an application, and it works great. I mean, it works phenomenal. I use it all the time because I'm able to. I'm not going to go into it, but
and getting back to my Apple TVs, I mean, the reason why I do that is because because I am in the Mac platform as my desktop/laptop, and I have an iPad. It makes it so easy to. I had a client. Here's a great example. I had a client come here yesterday. We were doing work together, but we're not going to sit here like best friends and like be like, hey, let's look at the computer. I was able to let him have a seat on the couch. I have a big screen right there. I'm able to AirPlay right over, and I'm sitting here working, looking up sites, and we're making decisions and talking about different things that we're seeing right there. And then if he wants to talk, I'll hand him the laptop. So I think they're incredible, and that technology needs to be a standard. And every time I show it to people, they're amazed like it's magic. It's so funny that no one really uses it.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't use it, which is funny. But
and I think that's one of the things that we need to see in the next 5 years is for all these devices to be able to work in that sort of fashion. And that's kind of the problem I have now is that, this stuff should just be built into TVs. It really should be. So that if I have an iPad or an iPhone or even an Android tablet, I should be able to stream a video that I'm playing on there to the TV.
Well, I think Microsoft will. Microsoft, if the rumors are true about the Xbox, I really think that the next generation Xbox will be that all-in-one device in your living room. They have the ability to make the relationships with the networks, the cable companies. Okay, go ahead.
This is my problem: is how much are going to charge for something like that? Is that going to be a $300, $400 device that you have to buy to do that?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's a gaming platform. I mean, that's the whole point of it.
But if you're not a gamer, it's still overkill. That's I would not want to pay $300-$400 for a box that does that when there's devices out there that are very close to that for only $100.
Absolutely. Listen, it's not for everybody, but because of the presence that Microsoft has, Microsoft will be able to build those relationships with them. Let me ask you this: would you rather lease a cable box from the cable company for $10 or $14 a month, which whatever it is, or would you rather say, you know what, I'm going to do a one-time fee of just get an Xbox and use that as my cable box? I think when you start looking at things like that, you may perceive it differently. Where the $300, you know what, it's kind of worth it.
Well, in the long run, yes.
To a degree, yeah.
For the long run,
here's the way I look at it: is that you can pay your $10 per month. And quite honestly, technology changes over the year. In 3 years, that $300 device is going to be obsolete. You're going to want to get something else new. You're going to need a new set-top box in 3 years, period, just because that's how fast technology changes. So paying $10 a month, it's really not that big of a price difference.
Yeah. Why don't you go into a story, John?
Why don't we have Josh choose one?
Because Josh doesn't know how to read. We know this.
Well, here, you know what? I know how to read, and I'll pick the one that's on the top of the list. How about Google adds Shawnee, Kansas to its fiber map?
Yeah, this is good news because we're seeing an expansion. Google has announced Provo. Is it Provo, Utah?
Yeah, Provo, Utah, and Austin, Texas.
They make the cheese there, I think.
Provolone.
Yes.
Is that a fact, or are you making?
Sure.
Are you just spreading rumors now about provolone cheese?
I mean, how else would they? Unless they love provolone.
I imagine it was like an Italian guy in like Provolone, Italy.
Yeah.
I like provolone. It's a good cheese.
I mean,
not
if
a
you
fan
were
of
in an area,
Swiss.
When you have to name your town in like Sim City, well, I mean, you're going to name it after what you know. So
provolone.
Yeah.
We're seeing Google Fiber expanding, and I think this is great. And I'll tell you why I think it's great. I don't think it's great because I'm envisioning Google Fiber all across this country. The reason why I see it is that it's going to drive other carriers' prices down, not ISP prices down. Yeah. It's going to create competition as far as growth goes, and that was the mission of Google Fiber. Google's idea was not to offer $35 per month gigabit internet and television all across the country. They kind of want to say, like, hey, listen, guys, we could do this if we wanted to. It's only going to cost us a fraction of what we're making. I mean, it's going to be virtually nothing for Google at this point to roll this out. Get your act together. Roll out higher speeds. Roll out competitive pricing in areas. And roll out internet in certain areas that do not have anything wired. I think that's a great idea, John.
Fiber, to be specific, I think, is where we need to head. And not just... I mean, because that's what a lot of places do now, is that they offer, 105 megabits per second down, but that's still over traditional copper wire.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm using... Right now, we have fiber, and it's phenomenal. It's unbelievable. I have 150 by 75. Yeah, we have hiccups. We have issues here and there, but that's going to be what
you're not paying an arm and a leg for that either. And I think that's kind of the deal is that Comcast is introducing a new tier that's, I think, like 310 megabits per second. But they want like $200 for that. And to me, that's just not, no. The cost just does not justify the speed, in my opinion, for something like that. I can definitely see, $150 for a gigabit. That would be fantastic. I could definitely get on board with that. Yeah. But for $200 for just 300 megabits per second,
and what's the
think
upload?
It's a little unbalanced.
But what's the upload on that?
I have no idea. I think it's like 50.
Yeah. I mean,
50 or 75.
I got 150 by 75, and I think it's like $79.
Wow. And that is not a terrible price.
No, not at all. But Verizon,
they could do better, but
the reason why that pricing structure exists is because they wanted to stick it to Time Warner Cable when they rolled this out. And now,
and for comparison, I could get, I think it's 50 down by 25 or 20
that's what I have. Yeah,
and it would cost me $75 to do that.
$75,
which I think is a little expensive for something like that.
And what's the upload again?
25.
20 or 25.
20. Okay. I mean, it's not awful.
If it was maybe $15 cheaper, I could understand that. And still, in comparison to the prices that we're seeing with Google Fiber, just the cost of speed to the cost itself, I think it's a little unbalanced in a way where they could do this so much. They could have so much more speed for such a little cost.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know if any of that makes any sense to you.
No, it does make sense.
It is fascinating that there's other carriers, other ISPs now that are kind of jumping on board. In Omaha, Nebraska, CenturyLink is offering $150 a month for standalone service for gigabit internet, and also in Vermont, the Vermont Telephone Company is charging just $35 for gigabit internet.
Yeah, how many people are they? Does the Vermont Telephone Company actually service? That's what I'm curious about.
I think it's about. I had it in my article before. I can look it up for you if you want.
Yeah, I'm curious because that is obscenely low and phenomenal if that's the case.
I know they did said that that's just their introductory price, that they might change that down the road. They're just not sure exactly what to charge for it yet.
I just think the whole thing is just like anytime we're advancing high-speed internet, I mean, I am a huge fan that if the government would take it over and then make it a utility,
that will not
and everyone
work.
Pays a little bit.
No, that's a stupid idea. That's
a dumb. Their total customer base.
That's a bad idea.
Their total customer base is 17,500 people.
17,500. Wow. I mean that's a significant. I thought that's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty vague.
Yeah,
bigger than I thought.
The government providing good internet.
Well, you know what? If there's a utility like water, it should be that easy and accessible.
Has the government what? I don't know. Government's not giving me water.
Show?
I don't know. I don't think the government is capable of providing anything at a proper rate.
Fine. If we do it your way, we privatize it. You have different companies in all the different areas. You're creating jobs because it has to be done. It's a long process.
Let me just tell you, the government does have a hand in the way that the ISPs are set up, where they do not allow certain ISPs to come into certain markets. New York City, they did not allow Verizon Fios to come into the New York City market for a long time, and they had to do God knows what to get New York City to allow them to be wired. That's when the government has a hand in what's happening. The telcos have a hand in what the government and local municipalities, the state governments all have a hand on the way that things work. And they are the ones really.
That's not the way government should be working. Government should be working for the people and for the good of the people.
Agreed.
Well, that's not how it works.
That is definitely not that.
Yeah, I mean, if every ISP out there could access you at any time, you know what? That'd be phenomenal. It would be great. But that's not the case. Companies are not allowed to compete in certain markets, which baffles me. So I don't know. We're gonna get into politics.
It's so ridiculous too that like if you have, I have a Verizon iPad, but yet which has a data plan. Yet then I'll have Verizon cable, and they're two separate bills that don't even talk to each other. Like I don't even understand that.
I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, you got me all worked up now.
Sorry.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, it's over.
I'm going to cut my internet connection. All right, guys. Why don't we go picks of the week? What do you say? Time for the picks of the week. This is the part of the show.
Unless you wanted to talk about that story about Veronica Mars.
I don't want to talk about Veronica Mars. Fine, let's talk about Veronica Mars.
I put that story in there just for you because I know you like Veronica Mars and Kristen Bell.
I do.
I've never seen the show. I think she's very attractive. It
was a really good show. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. But Veronica Mars, it was a Kickstarter program, and they got it. And due to Kickstarter, they funded the Veronica Mars movie so they could tie up loose ends for the Veronica Mars series. And announcement came out that this movie, Some Girls, that will be debuting in the theaters June 28th, will also at the same time be video on demand on Vimeo. And I think this is a phenomenal idea, and I really think this is what they should be doing with every movie, where the day of the premiere,
you're going to watch it too. I know you're going to do that.
You know, I'm probably not, but she's great in House of Lies.
I need to watch that.
House of Lies, not House of Cards, House of Lies.
Yeah,
how are you not watching House of Lies?
You watch House of Lies?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
With Don Cheadle?
Yeah.
You're a big fan?
Yeah.
Very surprised. That is probably
not so much this season, but like the first season was great, but then they completely changed the second season and it's just kind of, but it's still all right.
I am shocked that we have the same interest in television.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Watches a lot of TV.
A lot of TV, but nothing that I watch. I'm a little upset by this. All right, let's do our picks of the week. Let's Suncast edits this part out, but I know he doesn't. But I'm going to say, hey, this is the part that we edit out. That's not the right show. There we go. Picks of the week. This is part of the show where we discuss things that we like. Tech products, tech websites, a little hint here and there. Suncast, why don't you go first with your pick of the week?
All right. So my pick of the week is an application for the iPad and iPhone, or iOS in general. It's called Infuse. And a while back, there used to be an application in the iOS store that everybody was really fond of, and you're probably familiar with it on your desktop, called VLC, which is great because it lets you play videos in a variety of formats. Unfortunately, that got taken out of the iTunes store, and it's no longer an option. But now there's this Infuse application, which is basically the same functionality where it'll play all sorts of different files. It'll play your AVI files. It'll play your MKV files. It'll play your WMV files. Basically, almost any format that you could ever want to play on your iPad, because your iOS device is very limited in what it can play. Basically, it has to be a QuickTime formatted movie, which is something that just bugs the crap out of me because I get my video from a variety of sources, not necessarily the iTunes store, but I also get it from other places such as Amazon, and they don't always necessarily work out of the box with iTunes and my iPhone unless I actually do a conversion. But that just takes so much time and effort to convert these videos just to make it work on my iPhone. And that's what I really like about Infuse, is that all you have to do is whatever you have, basically any format. I got a lot of stuff in MKV, which the iPhone just does not handle natively, but this app does it beautifully. It's absolutely wonderful. It works perfectly, and it has a whole bunch of other features with it. If you're a fan of subtitles, you don't even have to have these downloaded. This application will download the subtitles for you. It can also connect with a service called Tracked. So if you watch like a lot of TV shows and movies and you want to keep track of what it is that you've watched, it integrates right with this. It's like scrobbling if you've ever used that before, which is really cool. It's very versatile. You can even share stuff with Dropbox or add from an email attachment, which is really cool. It's so wonderful. It supports such a variety of different formats, subtitles, and everything. And it does this so beautifully as well. I don't know if you're showing this on the screen right now, but if you just look at the interface, it's just done very, very, very well.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed with this app. Let me double check the price here because I think it's $4.99 in the iTunes
what's so
store.
funny is that the pick is amazing. Michael and I actually know James over there at Firecore, and he was one who helped us learn about the whole jailbreaking of the Apple TV when he was putting it out at his app for the Apple TV. And now that he's gone on, I have to contact him, and maybe we can get him to do an interview. But what they're doing there and how they're integrating with Apple TV is just awesome.
Yeah, it's $4.99, and I love this app because I don't have to worry about what format my video is in because I don't necessarily always get my stuff from iTunes. So this is really great. You don't have to spend time now converting your stuff. It'll play 1080p videos in MKV format or AVI or WMV, no problem whatsoever, and it's $4.99 in the App Store.
Very good pick, John. Very good pick.
Thank you.
How about you, Josh? What is your pick of the week?
Well, I'm sort of doing a little, it's not very techy, but I'm doing it with friends of the show, Dark Horse Comics, and we have a comic show here that comes on every Thursday at 7 o'clock behind the counter. Here it is. And I've talked about this, I think, one time before on the T4 show, but I wanted to bring it up here. Dark Horse has been putting out these, and now I'm highlighting this one. This is from the TV show and terrible movie, The Last Airbender Avatar. Now, this is going to be when my son wants to watch TV shows. This is going to be the first cartoon I have him sit down and watch. And if either of you, Suncast or Andrew, want to watch probably the best trilogy you've ever seen, better than Star Wars, I highly recommend this one. But these books are so great now because they're showing you like their actual sketches of all the different characters. They're telling you why certain things were colored the same way. I mean, not only is there just beautiful pictures, but they have the actual artist going into why they were making their choices they did. And it's a lot of different subject matters. Now, they mostly focus on, I would guess, say cartoony / animation shows and video games. And then the ones I have for video games, BioShock Infinite has this incredible one. I was a huge fan of this game. And I mean, they have incredible stuff inside the book. And then, of course, this is the one where it first introduced me to this whole new style is the Zelda book that came out. And I'm a huge fan of Zelda. And this has, from the whole series, just every choice that they picked and monsters and background. So, yes, I am a design nerd, so I got that because I like to see what's going on and how they were thinking about it. But the quality of these are type of books that you could have on your coffee table, so when people come over, they can see what type of interest you have. They're cheap, too. On Amazon right now, the Avatar book is $19, even though the back says, $38 or $35 in the U.S. So I highly recommend them if you're looking for any coffee table books, and I think they do the best job, Dark Horse, with putting them into one book that you can digest.
Very good pick.
Thank you.
Right. I thought Avatar was about something totally different.
No, this was. Oh. They made a terrible movie that no one should ever see.
It was the worst movie I've ever seen.
It'll just it ruined the whole thing because the cartoon is so good, and I believe the whole series is probably on Netflix.com/GFQ. But you could go there, get Netflix, and watch the whole thing straight. It'll make you feel good. There are some of those like filler episodes, but the overline storyline, like. Unbelievable. Like, you won't even believe that this was a show made for kids, in my opinion.
Okay. I believe you.
You'll never watch it.
I will. I watched My Little Pony, too.
Have you seen it, Suncast, or you won't do it either?
I've seen parts of it and never could get into it. It's kind of like the My Little Pony thing to me.
This is not My Little Pony. There's a flying thing in it.
No, very good pick,
it's exactly the same.
You're just humoring me now.
I'm not. No, I love it. I absolutely do.
Should I have done my Nexus 7?
No, I've seen
Would that be
Avatar.
better for this show?
No, awful. I don't want to talk about it.
It's great. I love it because my Nexus 7 is always dead. Now it's not dead because it's
Congratulations. You're docking it. My pick
Next.
of the week, I actually changed my pick mid-pick, mid-show, because we started talking about the Roku, and I wasn't going to do this as my pick. I'll do something next week. I'll do my pick from this week next week. But I do want to talk about this website called StreamFree.tv. And at StreamFree.tv, they offer you free and legal cable alternatives, and they kind of help you out, and there's a forum there. But the cool thing is, if you have a Roku, they provide you with a list of all the unofficial Roku channels, the ones that are not in the app store, the Roku store. And, man, there's a lot of stuff to pick from. Some, obviously, not great. You're probably never going to use it. But there are others on here that are pretty interesting, actually. A lot of it, CNN is there. Bloomberg is there. Funny or Die has a channel. There's a Google Voice channel. So there's a lot of unofficial Roku apps that are available at this page. They also help you. They give you some information with Google TV if you have a Google TV. They give you information on Plex. So there's a lot of information there. If you're a cord cutter, I'm hoping soon to be a cord cutter.
You never will.
No, I will one day.
Your wife will never allow it. My wife won't allow it. Women need live TV. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. That sounds so sexist. I was probably not a good idea, but it's true.
Jessica wants me to keep cable, so
yes,
that says something.
So,
but there's a lot to choose from here. There's the official Justin TV and Twitch, and there's an app to automatically update all your apps. Vidler is on there. I think our channel should be up on there too soon, so we'll see what happens. But it's a cool little thing. A lot of people don't know that there are private channels, and if you search, you could also find other channels that may not be listed. I think this is covering everything. But it's StreamFree.tv is the site. There's also a forum, so you could chat with other people that are looking for apps and private channels. Actually, yeah, if you go to the forum, you can find private channels listed there as well.
Really? You know a lot about these private channels.
I do. I know a lot about private channels.
Cheer for Friday, probably, on those.
No Cheer for Fridays on that. 2 people got this joke. Again, StreamFree.tv. We're also going to have a link on our show notes at gfknetwork.com when we post this. Guys, thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed having you here. Suncast, any plugs?
Follow me on Twitter at Suncast. That's Suncast with a K, not a C.
Of course, Josh is at Culmination on Twitter. He also does a podcast here on the GFK Network with Michael Mann called The T4 Show, broadcast at 8 p.m. every Wednesday.
Should we tease anything?
No teasers. And also, if you're looking for what?
Maybe I just tease. Maybe something more in the future.
Yeah, he may be doing something more in the future. But also, if you want any web design work, if you want, what is that word we used all day today?
Digital presence. If you're looking to increase your digital presence, and that doesn't mean just a website. It means website, your social media. You want to basically get out there and start bringing some followers and start telling people who you are and what you do. Contact us at jmaverickdesign.com.
I didn't like that. I don't like that whole gimmick of yours.
He hates it.
I hate it. I hate that gimmick. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. Also, if you miss any portion of the show, go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Catch it archived there. Catch it broadcasting live at gfklive.tv. Also, guys, I encourage you guys, if you're watching us and you love me and you love Suncast and you possibly love me. Josh, you hate Josh, subscribe to our show on any number of these podcast applications. If you use iTunes, subscribe to us on iTunes. Also, leave a review. We like to hear from you. It also helps us out. When you leave a review, we can rank a little higher, and that way I won't get beat up by street thugs with knives.
And I won't get locked in the basement
and
again.
I guess, yeah, he's able
Someone
to
mentioned
let him out.
knives?
Knives. Street thugs with knives. You have a knife. See? He has a knife there.
I'm a big knife collector fan.
You may get suspended from school for showing that on camera.
Well, I get these are nice to have for every day. I mean, I open up lots of packages and stuff.
Is that your new pick of the week?
I mean, do you want to? You didn't like any of my other ones. You made fun of them. Look at this. Look at this release. It's got a spring release.
Wow, very nice. You could rob me at knife point now. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.